If I Should Die by Donevy Westphal. Available through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and other retailers.
Thanks. This from this week? Yeah, fresh off the press. Frank Wald and Gary Young, they're from Chicago. We're running their info as well. Good enough. We'll get right on it, Mallory said. I'm going to need that telephone van again. This week is rolling up. I've got a list of items for Friday as well. Julius took out a sheet of paper and handed it to Mallory. I turned evidence over to my team on the Diana O'Brien case. It will be reopened, Julius said. That case was before my time, Mallory said, but the facts never did add up. Local people think Philip Meacham did it. What kind of an officer is he? Julius asked. That's what's odd. He does a fair job. Not many complaints on him from anyone else except O'Brien and their friends, Mallory said. I think there may be a surprise in this one, Julius frowned. A&W a good drop? It'll work once anyway. We'll set up each drop as we come to it. Is that his cover? Mallory added toward the kid. That's just him. Julius could see that his Seth had spaced out. He looks stressed, Mallory frowned. This is too big for somebody. He'll make it. Julius reassured himself and Sergeant Mallory as he watched a confused blank look slide across the kid's face. Are you two speaking a foreign language? The kid asked. Julius picked up his hat. Let's get moving. We'll be in touch, Sergeant Mallory said. Matthew. What's up with Matthew? Seth asked. Survival. If you go by your name, Seth, you'll blow our cover, not just yours. After a few minutes, Julius pulled into the parking lot at the mall. I see. For how long? For a week. I'll fill you in later. Julius parked and turned to his companion. I'll go in first. Here's my watch. After 10 minutes, you come in. I'll be reading a newspaper by that entrance. Go on down the left-hand side of the mall. Look casual. There's a small Asian restaurant almost at the end. Go into the restaurant and tell the hostess you're looking for William. Follow her and wait for me. Got it? Yeah, Seth shook his head. Repeat it then. You go in. 10 minutes later, I come in. You're by the door. I walk down the left side of the mall to a restaurant and ask for Will. What kind of a restaurant? Asian? And you're looking for William. Julius felt the stress rising. Okay, I have it. Asian restaurant looking for William. Like William the Conqueror. Julius slammed the car door and sauntered to the entrance. He bought a paper and a pastry from one of the vendors clustered at the entry. Sitting at the table with a view of the parking lot, he drank his coffee. He appeared to read the newspaper with an occasional bite of his pastry. Maybe the kid couldn't handle this. What if he couldn't follow simple directions? 10 minutes, 11, 12, 13. Where's that kid? Come on, Seth. There, the car door opened and the kid slid out. Julius watched as Seth rambled toward the entrance. Julius's heart skipped a beat. Where had those two men come from? Unaware of being followed, Seth ambled toward the mall doors. With those two tailing him, he could not make it to the doors. Julius spied the security guard just a few feet away. Those goons are gonna mug that guy out there. Security guard stepped out through the front doors. Hey, you, young man! There's a message for you, he waved. The two goons melted in among the parked cars. Yes, sir? Where's my message? Seth said when he got to the door. That man over there, the guard turned to where Julius had sat. The guy over there alerted me that there were two men following you, but he's gone. Look, he knocked over his coffee. Walking to the small round table, Seth read the message. What thou doest, do quickly. He picked up the mess and threw it into the trash can. Forgetting to look casual, he moved ahead of the few mall walkers as if it were a race. He glanced at the hieroglyphics on the Asian restaurant window and ducked inside. May I help you? The tiny hostess spoke with a heavy accent. I'm looking for William. He tried to look casual as he twitched a glance over first one shoulder, then the other. Please come this way. she led him softly to the other end of the establishment, turned down the hall, and motioned. "Stand here." He stood in front of the picture at the end of the hall. The hostess pushed on a panel, and the whole wall swung around. In the dark, he felt rather than saw a presence standing beside him. "Are you William?" he asked. "Not hardly. Take off your sunglasses, dude," Julius said. "I see you got my message." "I'm here." The kid removed his sunglasses with a trembling hand. "How did you miss those clowns closing in on you?" "Man, I'm just surviving right now, like 1 foot up, 1 foot down." He shook his head to clear the fog out of his mind. "That's what I'm concerned about." The elevator stopped and they pushed out into an underground parking garage. Julius pushed the button on a key fob. A black, nondescript car beeped and the lights came on. "Here's our ride for the day." Julius and his companion slid into the front seat. "There are several rehab centers scattered around the country. I found this one patterned after a ryokan. A Japanese inn for the samurai. You need healing. We should both profit from a few hours of R&R. "It'll take us about 45 minutes. Just relax and enjoy the ride," Julius said. Seth pulled his ball cap down over his eyes while Julius drove the quiet 45 minutes to the center. The wind in his hair and the sunshine on his face was enough encouragement to lull him into a peaceful sleep. Julius pulled in and parked, and as they approached the stone building, an attendant met them and led them over a small bridge to a private entrance. Once inside, a gracious young woman in a kimono greeted them and led them to a private room. Swathed in towels, Julius led the way down a hall to another room. "These people have knowledge of herbal healing. We are booked for 3 hours." He stepped inside and the door slid shut. 3 hours later, Julius began to reapply his disguise in the mirror at the rehab center. After Miranda drowned, life spiraled out of control. God stood on one hand and what I thought I wanted lay on the other. Chaos swarmed around me. "Life isn't quite as simple as we believed when we were growing up." Seth pulled his blonde hair into a ponytail. "It wasn't. Miranda was so beautiful, so free-spirited. She had been warned, we all had been warned, not to use that log as a footbridge." "She would do what she wanted," Julius said. "In some ways, her death forced us all to grow up. But you were kinda like her both, so it hit you harder." "Kinda? Miranda had our life all planned out. Where we would live, or even what curtains she wanted." Julius smiled at the memory. "Only now can I find some peace in the memories." At that point, confusion and turmoil came into our lives. I began running and fighting, literally and figuratively. Ever wonder why I was such an athlete? They still have the pictures down at the diner, Joe. The ones where you took the football from one goalpost to the other? That was a shadow to grow up under." Seth finished pulling on his belt. "The quarreling got worse and I couldn't stand the fighting. 14 years ago I walked. No, I ran away. I've been running and fighting ever since. I needed today as much as you did." Julius inhaled the perfumed air. The tensions eased away as he finished dressing. They walked into a big room where the keeper of the center, an old man, rustled in like a gentle breeze in the leaves. "Konnichiwa," Julius-san, he bowed. "Konnichiwa," Julius returned the gesture. "Have we helped you as you wish?" the keeper asked. "Yes, and we thank you," Julius said. "You must come back for a proper visit," the old man said. "We will, sir," Julius replied. Chapter 29. I wish I may, I wish I might." Seth inhaled deeply of the late afternoon air and plopped down on the stone wall in front of the car. "So how do you feel?" Julius sat down beside him. "Wait." Seth lowered his head into his hands. "My feelings are so strong, so overwhelming, and so alive. Being baptized in the Lord's family close to 20 years ago, I had the same beautiful feeling, but somewhere things blurred. Not because I couldn't tell right from wrong or good from evil, but I started making decisions based on what I wanted. I wanted a lazy man's salvation, something you don't really have to commit to. I haven't felt so clean since that day I confessed Jesus as the Son of God and came up from the watery grave of baptism. I feel the providence of God and His power in my life. It's just pure joy.